Okay, following morning now, and we're getting ready to leave. We actually left already, but we're leaving the casino now, and we're heading to a place called Point Pleasant. Uh, and I didn't realize the fact that the intercoastal actually ends up, the end of it is there as far as going up into. In other words, you can't go into New York and the Hudson River uh, anymore or any further on the intercoastal than where we're going now. Once we get there, we're going to have to go out into the Atlantic Ocean. So, and it's only about a 22-mile run from Point Pleasant to to the mouth, or I guess what they call Sandy Hook, which is uh, the island, or the a peninsula there where you actually go out and go out into the open water, or I'm sorry, you go into the Hudson River, and then of course that takes you into New York City. Uh, so here I'm just kind of giving you a little view of the marina and the area, and so you can see how big the marina actually was. So we're going down the intercoastal here, and we didn't go very far, and we started seeing these boats go by, and of course these were racing boats. They were doing another poker run out here, and these guys actually were running pretty close to where we were at, and they were picking up some waves someplace, and also making a lot of noise. They're pretty loud. These guys use these high performance speed boats, to jack them up and make them run as fast as they can. So the louder it sounds, the faster it sounds like they're going. And you can see that they were on both sides of me, depending, I guess, on how they were running or where they wanted to run. They were running on one side, and then another boat would show up on the other side, and you can see them coming. And you can also tell that how fast they're moving, and they're moving pretty fast. And it was somewhere in the reference of about 35 to 40 boats. I guess that made the run, because it was a ton of them, and they were pretty spread out. After the first, let's say, 6 or 7, those were kind of pretty much close to each other, and that was, basically the winners up there. And then everybody else was just straggling behind them, and you'll see them every once in a while now go by. They're not going by like they were the first 5 or 6. If they do the poker runs the way they do them in Florida, they're not necessarily behind that far. What they do is they take off, and the minute they take off from point A, they start their clock, and their clock runs all the way until they get to the end of the poker run, and then that determines what time it takes them to get from point A to point B, and whoever does it the fastest is the winner. So just because these boats up front are way ahead of everybody, it doesn't mean that they're going to be one of the winners. All it means is that they took off before the other ones did. And then as they take off, every time they say go, one boat takes off, and they start the timer, and then they stop his timer when he gets to where he's supposed to be, point B. And then when all the boats have come in and been recorded, now then they figure out, okay, who actually ran the fastest. It's pretty good as far as the way they do this. Other places, like I know when we used to do poker runs with motorcycles, it wasn't just how fast you were going. It wasn't about speed at all. It was more like getting to one bar, having a beer, heading to the next bar and having another beer, and going to the next bar and having another beer, and then when you got to the very end, you would have your last beer, and that would say, okay, you completed your poker run. This is a little bit different. I know some people do it, for the race, for the love of boating. Other people will do it mainly because sometimes they do have a poker run where you're not actually running for speed. What you're doing is you're running bar to bar, and uh, basically having a bar and go to a bar and drink a beer. I decided to pull off and have lunch. And while I was sitting here, I was going to run the boat up on the beach, but I noticed there was all these ducks around there. And if you ever wonder where the charm came from of make sure you got all your ducks lined up in a row, well, there they go. They're all lined up, one behind the another one. And then there's a bunch of ducks there on the beach. And so that's why I didn't run the boat up to the beach. I didn't want to bother them. Figured, nah, they're doing okay. Leave them alone. Went ahead and had my lunch, and after I finished, I went ahead and started my motor and took off again. Like I said, we're heading to Point Pleasant, where that's the end of the intercoastal, as far north as you can go. Because from there to New York, you have to go out in the Atlantic. There is no intercoastal to follow, so you have to go out in the Atlantic. And like I said, it's not very far. It's about 22 miles, 23 miles, I think somebody told me. But what you want to do is, especially what I'm going to do, is make sure the weather is perfect before I leave out, go out into the open water. A lot of your big boats can handle rough water, even the Atlantic. I could probably handle it with my boat, but my boat can probably handle it. The question is would I be able to handle it? It's pretty scary sometimes. Here we go, going into a canal that actually, if this canal wasn't here, we would have had to have gone out into the Atlantic and then come back into Mount Pleasant. But because they built this canal here, it actually connects the two waterways, and it allows you to get all the way to Point Pleasant without having to go into the open water. And they got these steel panels or plates that they put on both sides of the canal. You can see them there. They're painted kind of like a dark red or whatever. That's to keep, I guess, the waves and wakes and stuff from creating havoc. There are some houses, and there was one or two businesses on the side here. There was a little marina there too. Also, the U.S. Or the state police had an office there with all their boats too. So I guess that's how they come in and out to both inlets. This is not a very far canal. Very long canal. It was probably maybe a mile, maybe a mile and a half, and then it goes out into the other side of the intercoastal. And at Point Pleasant, that's where you go out into the inlet or the outlet that takes you out into the Atlantic Ocean. So that's the one place that I'm gonna sit around as long as I have to, depending on the weather. And right now the weather's not too bad. It looks actually pretty good. The canal seems to be nice. I had some friends run the same canal a day after I did, and they said it was pretty rough. I guess they caught the current or the tide coming or going, and they said they were having a hard time with it. I didn't have a hard time. I ran pretty smooth. The only time I had a hard time with it is when other boats are coming by, because they're creating a lot of wakes. And this whole canal system here is a no-wake canal. That means you cannot be creating a wake while you're going by this. Some boaters, they're here from New Jersey, I guess don't realize what a no-wake zone means. And it got pretty hairy because when they create a wake, they have a tendency to push your boat over toward the seawall here. So you have to be real careful when somebody's coming by and creating a wake, because it will push your boat over. You can see I think there's a boat heading now this way. and we'll see how big of a wake he's creating. But there was probably 2 or 3 boats that I happened to notice that were creating a big wake, and I had to kind of deal with it. By the time they come past you, it's too late to say anything to them. I mean, they've already created a wake. You can't stop it. But anyway, you can see there's some apartment complexes there, and there were some kids out there playing around and stuff in a yard. So it's a residential area where we're going through now, and the whole system is supposed to be a no wake zone. But there's a lot of boaters that figured, hey, I'm in a hurry, I can't take my time on this thing, so they went ahead and kept going. As we got closer to the end, I could start feeling the current slowing down the boat. Right there toward the left, you can see that was the state police station there. That's where they work out of, and also there's a small marina right next to them too. So I guess if you need to stop and pick up fuel or something like that, you can do that here. It wasn't too bad. Basically, a lot of it was uneventful, mainly because the only problems that I saw crossing this thing was when other boaters were coming my way. They just didn't slow down for the way they're supposed to. When they say a no wake zone, that you have to go pretty slow, not to create a wake here. You can see that there's a boat heading my way, and you can even see his wake from as far away as we are now. So he's not, he's not running slow like he's supposed to. And now you can actually see the wake coming at me. He just passed me, and you can see he's creating that wake there, which he's not supposed to be doing that. And you can see how he's bouncing me around. That happened with about 3 or 4 different boats that they decided they didn't have to obey the law here and came in. But it finally made it across into to the end of the inlet, which is almost done here. And then here is Point Pleasant. I actually end up staying on the hook 2 days. And by the hook, I mean I had to anchor off for 2 days because the weather was terrible the whole time I was here. There were gust winds up to 30 miles an hour, and there was no way I was going to go out in the Atlantic with those kind of winds. I was going to have to slow down. So I went ahead and anchored off one time into a little cove. The second time I anchored off right by an island out here. And then the next 2 days I went ahead and stayed at this marina here because it was bad. The winds were blowing pretty hard. Now it's kind of slowed down, but you can see how these boats are rocking, and they were doing that all day long. It was only like during the evening when the winds would kind of calm down a little bit, and I was able to sleep okay. But come next morning, the winds picked up again, and just like these boats are rocking, and they were like that all day long because the winds were blowing. Like I said, sometimes they were gusting up to 30 miles an hour. And the first 2 days was like that. The third day, it got a little bit better, but it still wasn't perfect. So I decided I'm not taking off. And we'll be back for the next adventure, which will be starting here pretty soon. And we'll be going out to the Atlantic, and hopefully we'll have some good weather out there. We'll see you then.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10,